Okay, welcome back to the second half of the light and waves presentation. Light, and now we have a bunch of docs and a very interesting presentation about light. So, Eva, take well,
Okay, so the first thing to know is that there's something called the electromagnetic spectrum, and it looks kind of confusing, but it's essentially called the EM spectrum, and it's kind of used to describe the entire spectrum of light that exists.
yeah, so the longest wavelengths are radio waves on the electromagnetic spectrum. The common uses are standard broadcast radio like FM and AM and satellite radio and TV. Obviously, it's used for communicating over radio like ham radios and stuff like that. And then air traffic control, remote control cars, and telepathy. Yeah.
I did not know that was so touch on. Okay. And next we have microwaves, which, as you can see, is pretty self-explanatory just with microwave ovens. But those are also used in Wi-Fi, radar, and cell phones.
Okay, next we have infrared waves, which are shorter wavelengths than microwaves, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Electric heaters, cookers for cooking food. Those are uses for infrared waves, remote controls, like I think like the actual TV remotes, security systems, although I'm not 100% sure how that exactly works, and thermal imaging cameras. So if you ever see the ghost hunters where they do the fake thermal imaging, that's what they're faking. So yeah.
And yeah. Okay, and so then there are visible light waves. Okay, and so these are a little bit confusing, but these are the waves that we can see. So these are kind of the colors that we can see. So we have three types of cone cells in our eyes: red, green, and blue, which are located in the inner part of our eye. And so then when light enters our eyes, it interacts with the cone, the corresponding color. And then a signal is sent to our brain after to communicate this information. And this is also how color blindness occurs, because when the red, green, or blue cone cell is damaged, our brains cannot detect the correct light.
Okay, next we have ultraviolet radiation, which most of you have probably heard of. In the medical field, it's used for killing bacteria. And in the last year, a lot of companies released sanitary equipment that uses ultraviolet light to kill bacteria just to stay clean during the pandemic. It's also used for sun tanning and tanning beds, but extensive exposure can cause skin cancer, which is why we wear sunscreen. And then it's also used for black lights to look cool. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then next are X-ray waves, which are even shorter, and they're a form of ionizing radiation. So when X-rays are used and pass through the human body, they become potentially harmful because they can cause cell, chromosome, and gene damage. And if you've ever gotten an X-ray before, it's probably because it was used to check for broken bones, but it was also used to check for pneumonia. They take an X-ray of your lungs and other cancers.
And lastly, we have gamma rays, which are the smallest form of, or smallest wavelengths on the electromagnetic spectrum. These waves emit from pulsars, which are rotating star systems, supernova that explode, and neutron stars that are dead stars like supernova that don't explode. And they also are emitted from photons during radioactive decay, or as photons. Really, they're the most harmful form of radiation, and they're very small in wavelength, and